Hey guys, what's going on? Laying back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about You Do You. You Do You is a Turkish romantic comedy that tells the story of Merve, an eccentric woman who aspires to be a successful fashion designer but has a hard time breaking into the business. She lives with her family in an apartment building who all suddenly learn the news that they'll be evicted in just a few months. In desperation to avoid being removed from her home, Merve gathers a group of friends to brainstorm business ideas to generate income, one of which takes off in the form of a dating app with a mystery element. She soon learns to juggle this app while promoting her fashion brand under the leadership of her boss, Anil Gurman, which leads to an inevitable romance. This was the blandest rom-com I've seen in a long time, and I've seen a lot of them on Netflix. It is somewhat entertaining with its interesting main character and light atmosphere, but for every good thing about it, there's almost always a caveat or cliche that holds it back. Merve was easily the best thing about this movie. She has multiple goals throughout the story, deals with a relatable problem, and has an upbeat personality, and all of these things contribute to making her character more likable. She never came across as a generic female lead to be paired up with another generic male lead. She's always on some sort of hustle to improve her circumstances and help her family, and has to learn to balance her desires with her needs. All in all, she was just a well-rounded character. As for the story around her though, it's not quite as up to par. There's a lot of details surrounding her character to emphasize her struggle for recognition, and it is admirable, but they're executed in ordinary fashion, and often switch focus so much that it's hard to get further invested in the story. For instance, it was great that the movie showed her interacting with her family to remind the audience that she's fighting for more than just herself, but none of them really do anything. They mostly sit around, drink tea, and talk to each other, and hardly have any agency with the story outside of whenever Merve is at home. There is one plot element involving Merve's mother and how she resists divorcing Merve's father despite him abandoning the family, but I personally didn't get it. It's nice that there was an attempt to flesh out the story, but it didn't work out the way it could have. I also had mixed feelings about the central concept of the story, where Merve sets up a dating app and then goes on to focus on her clothing line. Again, it gives Merve more things to do than just fawn over the male love interest, but there's almost nothing unique about her career ambitions. The dating app is only made slightly more novel by the fact that people who match on it wear masks and get to know each other while wearing said masks. Even then, I felt like I heard this exact idea before, so it's disappointing to see it portrayed here with such little enthusiasm. Things get even more confusing when Merve chases after her clothing line in the middle of working on her app. It was odd to see someone who is so clearly into fashion and yet have her passion fall by the wayside so that she can work on some random dating app. It's not out of the ordinary to see people work on one thing and build up their passion somewhere else, but in this movie's case, it just felt like it had too much going on. It keeps jumping from one place to another and then back again, and this leaves less room to fully appreciate both of her pursuits when the pacing is so inconsistent. Now, that being said, I do think there is some creativity behind it. I do like the fact that the app participants wear animal masks to represent their primal urges. The masks themselves look great, and the mystery aspect involved with them does make conversations more intriguing. One of the weaker parts of the story for me was the love interest Anil. He's nothing more than a plainclothes businessman who finds himself attached to Merve just because, and creates a lot of lazy conflict by challenging her business ideas. The chemistry between these two felt off for me. The movie takes too long to establish the romance between them, and by the time it does get going, it moves too quickly and unrealistically. Even with the tension in the scene of their eventual kiss, the pacing with their subplot was too slow for me to bother caring about. The comedy was pretty much the only source of entertainment to be found in the movie, which once again is a mixed bag. Thankfully, there is a variety of scenarios to appreciate from it, from the many witty lines of Merve to an occasional dose of slapstick. Merve's prone to sharing her thoughts in the form of fourth wall breaks, where she looks directly at the camera and speaks her mind. These moments are fine by themselves if a bit overused, but other times it becomes jarring, as the movie will also feature sudden cutaways to imaginary scenarios where Merve takes her rage out on someone. The first time it happened was okay, but it doesn't take long for it to get annoying after that. Fortunately, while the romance and comedy aspects are lacking in this movie, the atmosphere feels right for the genre it commits to. There's a lot of different settings where the characters find themselves in, so the scenes never feel stale, and the ambient soundtrack helps to maintain a light mood throughout the story. It's a shame that the movie features so much filler throughout its key scenes though. It feels like every other scene in this movie has some kind of montage where people just dance and talk and do other banal things, instead of using this valuable screen time to do something like flesh out the romance, expand on Merve's career ambitions, or explain other plot elements. It sort of just waffles about and tells whatever story it feels like telling. And that was the main problem I noticed when watching this movie, was just how aimless it went about with everything. Merve's careers, her love story, and her family angle all feel woefully undeveloped, and the final act doesn't help with how unusually complicated it gets in rushing to explain the backstory behind the eviction. It ends with a basic message about following one's heart and taking risks in doing so, which is hardly original, but at least it resonates well with Merve's character. The key theme is there in some form, but it gets lost amidst all the random filler and weak subplots that it presents. Overall, You Do You is a borderline average rom-com that doesn't strike much of an impression either way. If you like rom-coms and want to watch one that's more female and career-oriented, you might enjoy checking this out. It has some unique ideas going for it, and the main character is a lot of fun, but everything about the story is a bit too messy and shallow to get invested in beyond a general sense. It's not really my kind of movie, but I can see someone else having a good time with it. So if you're that person, you do you, my friend. What did you think about this movie? Did you enjoy Merve's screen presence, or were you also disappointed by its story? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of You Do You. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the American action flick, Extraction 2. Bye bye!